broadcasting live from somewhere we can't be alone. This is Pop
Seamus, I gotta stop you right there. I'm gonna let you finish. But I have one of the best podcast intros of all time.
Oh, no.
What up? It's me. It's Ricardo. Hello. I'm on the show today.
Oh, wow. That was so unexpected. That was great. Ricardo coming in hot first. I am one of your other hosts, Seamus Connolly.
I'm Garrett Strother, and we actually have a special guest today, my sister, Claire Strother, who I will let introduce herself a little bit because I don't know exactly how she wants me to do so.
I'm Claire Strother. I'm Garrett's sister. I am a resident Taylor Swift expert, and I am not a complete stranger to the podcasting world, but this is my first appearance on Pop Culture Reference. Does that work?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
right,
that's
cool.
Great.
Yeah, very nice. Before we get into the meat of this episode, which is the new Taylor Swift re-release album that came out this morning as of our recording,
Yep.
Is that right?
As of this April 9th. Sorry, April 11th is the day we come out.
Yeah, before we get into that very long and well done album, we got a little bit of news we got to get into. Well, also as of this morning, DMX has died at the age of 50. He had a heart attack a couple weeks ago and has been on life support. But as of today, they took him off of it and he's passed.
Oh, man, that's a shame.
Yeah, he was very influential. He was great and so young. It's very, very tragic.
Yeah, another case of a tragic musician OD. Very, very sad.
Yeah, and definitely a landmark in the pop culture world, not only for his rapping, but also like he was in a fair amount of movies, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I have distinct memories of Cradle to the Grave from 2003. He was one of the leads in that, and I don't remember why I saw that, but it was weirdly compelling. He was in like...
Is that the one with Jet Li?
Yeah, it is the one with Jet Li. Very, very strange, but it was some fun stuff. I think he was also in like a Fast and the Furious ripoff series that I don't remember very well, but...
Are you sure he just wasn't in a Fast and the Furious movie?
Oh, wait. Is it a Death Race movie? It's called Fast and Fierce,
Oh
Death
my
Race.
God.
I don't know if that's part of either franchise, but he was the star of it.
Amazing. That sounds great. Well, yeah, this has been dominating the news cycle this week because of so many people like kind of prematurely sending their in memoriams, and now of course
because he was comatose
actual statement from his
for a while, and it was always up in the air whether or not they were gonna make their decision. But tragically, X can no longer give it to you.
God, that is
eloquently put, Ricardo.
Truly, that was moving in a way.
Next up, we've got an update on the ongoing Ray Fisher DC situation, which just seems to be getting more and more damning to director Joss Whedon and the execs over at WB. There was a Watershed interview with him this week in the Hollywood Reporter with Ray Fisher, that is, as well as a Vanity Fair Chris Terrio article, who was, of course, a writer on Justice League, as well as Star Wars Episode 9, the one that you all hated.
God.
Oh man, these are damning articles. Ow, I've burned myself in all this scalding hot tea.
Oh God, yeah. Ricardo, you know a lot more than we do, I think. What's the new breakdown of this information?
I'm gonna assume I'm the only one here who's read both articles.
I read both the articles.
Oh, okay, so we can have... Yeah, there's a lot of stuff involving Joss Whedon and Jeff Johns, specifically. Just a lot of really unprofessional, unnecessary behavior, especially from Joss Whedon.
And I think the one that's dominating the news story, the most headlines I've seen have been about how he multiple times threatened Gal Gadot's career during the making of Justice League, which is just a fascinating thing.
I have that
the
somewhere.
hubris in that.
What's up?
An exact quote?
Yeah, I do, actually. Is it Godot or Godot? What am I supposed to say?
I think it's Gadot. I think I used to always say Godot, but I've heard it being said Godot a lot lately by like official
Godot
people.
She apparently had multiple concerns about the movie, about its, the rewrites, saying that issues about her character being more aggressive than her character in Wonder Woman. She wanted to make the character flow from one movie to the next. But, there was a clash with Joss Whedon in which he tried to force her to record lines that she didn't want to, which resulted in him threatening to harm Godot's career, like Garrett said, disparaging Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins.
Oh,
and
great.
then
Yeah, I forgot about that.
there's a quote from someone that witnessed the thing that said Joss was bragging that he had it out with Gal. He told her he's the writer and she's going to shut up and say the lines, and he can make her look incredibly stupid in this movie.
Oh my god, it truly just gets worse and worse. Jesus.
Which is, without getting too much into direct quotation, also very similar to an encounter he had with Ray Fisher about saying
Yeah,
booyah.
I have that pulled up to the booyah debacle.
Jeez.
Because, Claire, I'm sure you don't know this.
You would be
Cyborg's
correct.
Catchphrase. Cyborg's catchphrase from the Teen Titans TV show is "booyah," but he doesn't say that in the comics or other incarnations of the character,
Gotcha.
and so they wanted to put it in as an Easter egg. But he felt that Joss Whedon's take on the character was he was trying to cut out basically all of the substance of that character, who's really the heart of that film,
Gotcha.
as it was originally written,
Gotcha.
and try to just turn him into like a catchphrase machine, which is like and he found that to be tokenist, and like they were trying to take away the substance of the character and turn it into just kind of like, oh, he said it like from the TV show.
Right.
Listen to this.
Yeah,
Co-chairman of DC Films and a producer took him to dinner and said this. This is one of the most expensive movies Warner's ever made. What if the CEO of AT&T has a daughter or son, and that son or daughter wants to see Cyborg say booyah in the movie, and we don't have a take of that? I could lose my job.
Oh, that is disgusting. Jesus.
It gets worse. Once he actually showed up on the day to shoot the booyah scene, which is just him saying the word and nothing else. As he arrived on set, Whedon stretched out his arms and said a line from Hamlet in a mocking tone, "Speak the speech I pray you as I pronounced it to you." Which Fisher replied, "Joss, don't. I'm not in the mood."
Jeez, dude.
Yeah, so it's become very clear that multiple actors from the film kind of tried to step out and indicate that their characters were either being sidelined or inconsistently written, and that any time that it was tried to be brought forward to WB execs, they shut it down, which is kind of what Ray Fisher's been saying all along, but we're getting a lot more substantiation of that, also from Chris Terrio, who said that he was really upset when the final film bore almost no resemblance to the script that he wrote with Snyder. And in retrospect, this is making a lot more sense to me about why so many of the actors were so eager to jump on the Snyder Cut bandwagon, even though obviously they're actors who understand that the Snyder Cut, quote-unquote, didn't actually exist.
Yeah, we're just picking out little bits here. There's so much more in the article. There's a lot of, that's not even covering stuff about the investigation or the Chris Terrio stuff that he said.
Yeah, we'll definitely link those on our socials, I think, because this is something that we've been covering since it pretty much broke several months ago, and it's been really interesting to see evolve, and this is really the biggest piece of news that's come out, singular piece of news that's come out in the whole process.
Right on to some less horrifying news. What did you guys think?
Also WB, though.
Also WB, true. What did you guys think of the new Space Jam 2 trailer? Big transition there. I'm trying to get us into some more cartoon rabbit territory.
Everybody get up.
It's I mean, my first thoughts, obviously, it's Ready Player One. They're just like hitting all the properties they own as hard as possible. Every land has their own planet.
They love to walk the Iron Giant out and say, "Look at the big gun we have."
Yes.
They love to do it.
Oh man, Don Cheadle is like Tron in this for some reason.
Yeah,
it's
he's
a very
Al
weird
G. Rhythm.
concept.
Oh god.
I think the big takeaway from this trailer is that it is Ready Player One, and honestly, I have so much less of a problem with that than I do with Ready Player One, because it's not trying to do it in this weird, pretentious, like, look how cool all of pop culture is. It's a big commercial for WB, just like the original Space Jam was a big commercial. I mean, I think, Ricardo, you said something to that effect last week, too.
Oh yeah, this whole movie's a huge commercial.
And-
It's so you buy a HBO Max subscription. Or if you already have
yeah.
one, that you keep it.
But, I don't have a problem with that. They resolved the issue that I was having, where why did the characters look 3D? It's because apparently in wherever they fight in the Space Jam, they look 3D, but in the Looney Tunes place, they look 2D. It tracks. I'm assuming, Claire, you didn't get a chance to check out the
Regrettably,
trailer.
I did not. I'm sorry. I was in class all afternoon.
That's okay. It really, I mean, yeah, you like the Iron Giant? He's sure there. That's for sure. Were you upset with Lola Bunny's redesign? I mean, she's still there winking at people. That's for sure.
You know, it may be a commercial. It may be just a huge cash grab. But I'd be lying if I didn't say I didn't get some amount of enjoyment out of the crossovers that were happening in this.
Yeah, I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that manifests in the actual film. Is it going to be like background, like, oh, there's the Mad Max War Boys, oh, there's Game of Thrones,
There's
or is
the
it gonna be
Clockwork
like, oh,
Orange
no,
guys.
they're getting in the Space Jam.
Oh my god, why are they here?
Yeah, that is something weird. They're not cool, guys. Love that movie, but
And Pepe was the problem?
I mean, like, to be fair, I mean, I don't think they're saying that those guys are heroes. They've also got the White Walkers from Game of Thrones and the War Boys from Mad Max in that same shot. So, yeah, I'm interested. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's a planet full, or whatever, computer. Maybe it's the bad guy server, is what I'm saying.
yeah, sure.
I saw Danny DeVito Penguin next to 1960s Penguin, so I'm in.
Wait, really?
Yeah, in the background in the crowd.
I totally missed
There's
that.
all sorts
That's
of
dope.
people in the crowd.
So yeah, I'm interested to see how those crossovers manifest, for sure.
May I inquire what these different crossovers mean for different, cinematic universes? Are these all, like, it sounds to me like it's a lot of players, right? And so does that have further implications for if anyone wants to, like, track what happens in the same universe, right?
So it's like how are these going to impact the Game of Thrones world?
Right, and like I assume there's no like tangible plot points that it would ever like engage with, but I do think it's there's you see like all these weird diagrams about like but if this exists in the same universe as this, then that means that this was happening at the same time as this, and I can't think of any examples right now, but
that's a good thought, because
I
think the most interesting part.
I want the next Game of Thrones thing to come out and have a whole arc acknowledging that time they all went to the Space Jam.
Oh, you remember that one basketball tournament we played against Mad Max? Oh, good times. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
The interesting thing, to Claire's point, is I think if you go back to because clearly the first Space Jam and the second Space Jam are in the same universe, right? Because they're the Space Jam movies.
I guess they have to be.
If you go back, is any of the WB properties that they're going to bring into these movies, are they going to have Bill Murray and Wayne Knight in them? Well, specifically Wayne Knight, because Bill Murray plays himself in the first Space Jam.
That is true.
But if Wayne Knight is in any of the WB properties that they're bringing into it, is there just a fictional Wayne Knight? Like, is there a second Wayne Knight in the Space Jam universe who plays all the Wayne Knight characters? I think, Claire, that's the most interesting implication of your question, is the actors who aren't playing themselves from the first Space Jam. Right. Like, is Don Cheadle in any of the WB things? Is he also Algae Rhythm? Like,
honestly, I need the corkboard and the string and the big layout. Somebody's bound to do that giant diagram, and I need to examine it.
But how do the Animaniacs? It's
probably all the Tommy Westphall universe.
Oh, I hope the Animaniacs show up and try to play. Because I mean, Michael Jordan's gonna be in it, right? Like, he's gonna have a cameo.
I mean, they better.
It would be insane if they didn't. I'm hoping he gets the ball with somebody, like, specifically great like the Animaniacs.
I mean, I'm mostly hoping for some Looney Tunes back in action.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, that's true.
But let's move on to some more WB news, which is actually, like, real news, which is that Godzilla vs. Kong has been smashing the box office like it's downtown Hong Kong. Got it.
Ooh, roasted, take that.
And
we are friendly with Hong Kong on this podcast specifically.
I meant about the
Of
movie
course, I know.
where they smash Hong Kong, not the protests, but it made almost $50 million its first 5 days domestically, with $285 million international. So that means it is well on track to earn the rate of a regular summer tentpole, and that with the fact that you can stream it on HBO Max. You know, for the price of one movie ticket, you can buy a month of HBO Max.
Our boys changing the game.
Yeah, I'm so glad this big blockbuster really pulled off what it was supposed to. I'm happy to hear it.
I mean, I'm still not going back to theaters, but I do think there are enough people that are vaccinated, and the fact that the theaters haven't lifted a lot of their COVID restrictions yet, that it is a lot safer for people to begin transitioning back in. And it is encouraging to me that for the future of theaters in general, that if you can stream something on HBO Max at home, or you could go to the theater to see it, people are clearly, a lot of them, choosing to go to the theater to see it.
Waiting on my second dose. I'm ready. Put me out there.
Yeah, man, the more I get closer to my second vaccine, the more I'm thinking about, like, I really did want to see Godzilla vs. Kong on that big screen, you know? I'm getting more tempted, that's for sure.
So I'll be interested to see when Mortal Kombat comes out in a couple weeks, if it continues that trend, or is it gonna, like, crash and burn? Is Godzilla vs. Kong gonna be the outlier, and the rest of these WB movies are gonna underperform? You know?
Yeah, we'll see.
Alright, so some more movie news is that Netflix and Sony have signed a licensing deal, which makes all Sony movies from 2022 on releasing exclusively on Netflix after their theatrical run, which, I mean, is pretty similar to how WB works with HBO. And it made me realize something, because the two headlines I saw on my timeline right back to back about this were the Sony Spider-Man movies, so if you have Netflix and Disney+, you'll be able to watch all the Marvel movies. But the other one was the Nathan Drake image of Tom Holland. And it totally clicked with me why Tom Holland's leading the Uncharted movie. And the answer is because Sony has invested in making Tom Holland their boy.
There it is. You cracked the code, man. You I think nailed it.
Because, of course, Sony owns PlayStation. Sony is developing the Uncharted movie. So I think that makes a lot of sense to me, that they've already put all this money into making him Spider-Man and training him to be in shape and everything else, that they've invested in this young, hot star, and they're gonna milk him and put him in their other big franchise.
Netflix isn't gonna slip into, like, premium access, though, is it? That's just gonna be their old normal stuff, I hope.
It's just after its theatrical run.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense then.
So I think no, I don't think it's gonna be premium access. I do wonder if you're gonna be able to watch it on Netflix before you can rent it or something, though.
Ooh, yeah, maybe that's the angle.
That would be interesting. And, I mean, this could be something that, like, Netflix is floundering, and this could be something that actually saves them, because they have a lot of good movies. Sony has a lot of good movies, and I'm assuming this will kind of retroactively come into their back catalog, kind of like Disney+, you know, where once their tenure ends on one streaming service, then they can move over to Netflix. So, like, you could see, like, Baby Driver, or
the original Spider-Man movie.
Sony Animation's really stepped up its game recently.
And that definitely clocks with Netflix's animation plans for the future, so maybe that's going to be the big carryover.
That's true. We've literally talked about those two things in conjunction. That actually makes a lot of sense, that if they're both kind of trying to up their game on animation, that they would try to elevate that. Claire, you have any groundbreaking thoughts on the
I
Sony
do
Netflix
think
deal?
that Sony did open season, right? So that could be a really it's just a
How
joke.
good is
It's just
open
an animated
season?
film.
Seamus, have you seen
Maybe a
Open
joke
Season?
for you, but I love Open Season. That movie is
Okay.
so good.
There we go.
Y'all remember
God,
Open Season 2?
Hell yeah, I remember Open Season 2. He drinks that garbage coffee. That might have been the first one. I don't even remember.
Let's touch on this Loki trailer.
Yeah, let's do that. Claire, are you a Marvel person?
I am at times a Marvel person, I would say. I enjoy watching a Marvel movie. I don't think about a Marvel movie after I watch it, would be sort of my take on that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Just like most of the world.
Except for us
Specifically
three
Loki.
insane
What are your
people.
thoughts on Loki the man?
The man, the myth, the legend. I don't have many thoughts. I also was not able to watch this trailer, regrettably. Yeah. It's a show, right? It's a TV show, right?
Yeah,
It's a Disney Plus.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
maybe, probably one of the only shows that you could go into with lesser context of the greater world. It seems to be kind of a jumping off point of the old 2012 Avengers.
Gotcha.
It seems to. Yeah, I was gonna say. It seems to me if you've seen the original Avengers movie, and you can understand the concept that there's an alternate reality where Loki escaped.
Okay.
That's all you need
That's
to know.
about all I know. So
Oh,
this
perfect.
could be perfect for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
you get bigger, wibbly wobbly time and stuff.
yeah, it's all
Sci-fi.
fun. Owen Wilson's there. He's still got a mustache. I
Wow.
think. Yeah, exactly. Oh, he
Yeah.
better say that at least a handful of times. Oh man, yeah. This trailer, we got some cool stuff in this trailer. We got another DB Cooper moment. I think there was a flash second of him talking with Black Widow on Vormir. It looked like just for a split second.
I saw Vormir, but I didn't connect that. That's what
Maybe,
That would
I
be.
mean,
so that's interesting.
He's gonna be all over the place. It looks like. So we'll see what shenanigans he creeps around with.
Yeah. We'll see how the show.
We've been talking about the idea of.
No, I was just gonna say, we'll see how the show plays out. But from this trailer, I think I'm getting a little bit of a WandaVision vibe, or at least they're cut from the same cloth, where they're both kind of quirky.
Quirky indeed.
Well, I mean, sure. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely leaning into a more like time travel mission based structure. It seems to me like like WandaVision sure had the episodic nature of like, oh, we're in a different sitcom every week, but this has a little bit more of a driving. The quantum leaping to set the time where it went wrong vibe to me. Like I think this very much has a quantum leap or an early edition
Oh yeah.
like mission of the week vibe to me.
Yeah,
Is
I think-
WandaVision Sliders, and then this is Quantum Leap, right?
Honestly, yeah, that's
There
pretty
it
good,
is.
Claire. This is a podcast for nobody.
That's
Whoever
our
gets those-
brand.
Exactly. Anybody who gets all of that wrapped up into one, they understand us.
Obscure 80s and 90s.
There's this great
Sci-fi
TV show
TV,
from the
that's-
90s called Sliders, right?
I believe it's
Yeah.
pronounced
That's how
Frasier.
Oh, well, Loki better run into Frasier at some point during his 90s visit. I don't even know what we're doing there.
Well, if we're doing the multiverse, we could bring in Kelsey Grammer from Frasier and Kelsey Grammer from X-Men and just have
I was just about to ask, why hasn't he been cast in a Marvel thing yet? But, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if they bring over the old political beast.
Loki opens the back of the plane in DB Cooper episode, but instead of Quicksilver being there, it's Kelsey Grammer Frasier.
Perfect.
Everybody's clapping. And he says, I'm listening.
Dear God! And then the plane explodes.
Frasier and Niles also, this is an Easter egg that you may have missed, are also in the crowd in the Space Jam trailer.
Oh
That's the
my
fun fact.
God! They're gonna ball down. Niles is gonna make that half-court shot from that one episode in like season 7. It's gonna be great.
This is our best episode.
We've never had a guest naturally bring up more Frasier content, so we're already in the win.
And last up, Cartoon Network Studios Europe is rebranding as Hanna-Barbera Studios Europe, which I think is a very interesting transition. That says to me,
Did you not
hey, Claire and I
know
watched
WB
a lot of
owns
Boomerang growing
Hanna-Barbera?
up. Does WB own Hanna-Barbera? That was what I was
Yeah,
asking,
yeah.
essentially.
The whole Cartoon Network,
Okay, so then we're
Hanna-Barbera, all
good.
that.
So-
That's the WB too.
Oh, that makes sense, because Hanna-Barbera is at Six Flags.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they did stuff like Harvey Birdman and
Well-
what's the other one? Space Ghost, Coast to Coast.
So it is tied, and I'm just stupid. So coming back,
Yeah, Boomerang. Bring it back to Boomerang.
It always comes back.
Are the Flintstones gonna?
Much like a boomerang.
Is there a boomerang planet in Space Jam 2?
I would love that. It's all just the weird transitions of those little like jumping toys of the Hanna-Barbera characters they did instead of commercials. That's what I'm looking
Love
for.
them.
Oh, you're bringing me
Right?
back, Seamus.
You guys remember what I'm talking about.
With a whole planet of those, I'd
We watched
love
it. But, I mean, this says to me that they are transitioning from the Cartoon Network branding to a more, like, classic tone, maybe putting more of an emphasis on bringing back their old characters. Like, I know we had Scoob, which was trying to kind of set up a Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe that may or may not
Which
still
I am
happen,
on board
but
for on paper.
Claire, I mean, they already did the Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe when they had the Jetsons meet the Flintstones. So that's all I need. But Claire, what do you think? You've actually got stuff to say about this.
I think that if we got a remake of Viva Rock Vegas, we would all be better for
Oh my
it.
god.
Bring back John Goodman as the one guy. I don't remember who he plays.
Come on,
I mean,
man.
what's Cartoon? This is Cartoon Network Europe. You said I don't know what Cartoon Network is like doing contemporary. Like I don't know what they're up to. Do they do like Gumball? Is Magic World of Gumball on there?
Yeah, they're the Gumball people.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, other than that, I guess I don't know any iconic Cartoon Network stuff popping off right now. Like Gravity Falls was also Disney.
It's
Never
Disney,
mind,
yeah.
goddamn.
Infinity.
Adventure
Yeah,
Time is over.
Adventure Time's over. They've got Distant Lands, but that's more of an epilogue thing. Infinity Train is an HBO Max original now.
Yeah, so I feel like it
what I'm
makes
hearing-
sense where it's like if they don't have a ton going for them right now. But I don't know.
Exactly what I was going to say, Claire. Like, this seems like a good time to be trying out a rebrand and seeing what works.
They do have that Jellystone show coming up on HBO Max, where it's all the Hanna-Barbera characters hanging out.
Yes.
I was a
I
was a big Flintstones fan as a child. I was a big Flintstones fan. So I'm excited about that. I don't know.
Here's a obscure...
We went to the Flintstones Park in South Dakota and everything.
Fun.
It's true.
Here's an obscure Hanna-Barbera fact. Mexicans love Top Cat. Remember Top Cat?
Really?
Oh yeah.
Of course.
There's 2 Top Cat movies that were big in Mexico too, fairly recently.
That is the weirdest piece of information, Ricardo.
Do with that what you will. Mexicans love Top Cat. Don
Mexicans
Gato.
love Top Hat and Speedy Gonzales, apparently. We keep coming back to, like, the national opinion of Mexico on cartoon characters.
Maybe they should be rebranding Cartoon Network Mexico to Hanna-Barbera.
And that's how they just start printing pesos.
And that's when I will strike.
Alright, I think we've taken a little curvy journey down our news segment. I think we're ready to move into our main segment, Fearless, parentheses, Taylor's version.
Yeah, lots of parentheses coming up.
No
This
kidding.
one is from the vault, you guys.
Now it's time for our main segment where we're going to be breaking down Fearless, parentheses, Taylor's version. And it's feeling really nice to not have to be like, no spoilers or whatever, just talking about a thing. And if it's good
Swear
and
to
what we liked
God,
and what we
Garrett, if you
didn't like.
spoil this album for me.
Well, there's 6 new tracks, so really you could, in theory. You know,
is
if you
true.
haven't listened to
Yeah.
Bye Bye Baby yet, I don't know.
We're gonna sing it live a cappella for the gang out here so we don't break any copyright laws. I wrote down notes for this album. I didn't really know, because we've never done a piece of music or like an album or anything for this show before.
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious about how we're going to tackle this. Are we just going to jump around and talk about what we liked?
Garrett had mentioned that I should explain sort of the controversy and why there's a re-recording. I don't know when I should do that, but I have like...
So, we're going to save that for the pop culture reference.
Okay.
Which is going to be after the main segment.
Okay.
So, we're just going to be talking about the content of the album right
Okay.
now. And then if you guys are interested in hearing a little bit more background about, like, why is Taylor Swift re-releasing one of her old albums, but it's new now? Claire's going to explain that to us. Our pop culture reference coming up right after this.
Like I kind of jumped on some like actual like first, second album. I listened to a couple of those after I finished this album, and the difference is insane. My goodness. Just, I don't know, maybe it's all the twangy stuff that caught me off guard in this album specifically. I put stars next to a lot of those songs, like
yeah, I get where you're coming from. She's been a pop artist for so long. That's what I'm used to. So going back to this was like, oh yeah, she was a country singer at one point.
Yeah, there's like banjo in multiple songs here. It really threw me.
But I want to hear what Claire thinks. But I do think, building off of that I was really surprised listening to this at how well she was able to marry her older and newer styles. And there were several songs, specifically Love Story is the one that jumped out to me, where it felt like, oh, this is a fully realized version of what she was trying to do with that song. Like, this is what this song is supposed to be, is how I felt listening to some of these tracks.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially in the case of Love Story. I think that it's interesting in that they are, in my mind, pretty similar to the originals, and that's sort of, the point in doing this is not to remake the wheel, but rather to own the rights to the wheel, right? And so I think that, yeah, I think I was interested in, it's just, I think you're getting at exactly the point there, Garrett, which is that it is just really fully realizing what these things could have been in 2008, so I don't know what the math on that is. What, 11 years ago? Nope, that's wrong. 13 years ago. Yep, I got there. And yeah, and so I just feel like it's a more mature version of the album that was once created, and I think that that's really cool, and I think that that's really special. I also think that sort of like The Best Day is one of my favorite songs from the album, right? And that one's all about like your parents and you're young and like that sort of thing. And so that one specifically for me was very interesting to listen to because I was like, oh, she's old now, and looking back on these days that, going to the mall with her mom when she's in high school. And I think that that's sort of an interesting like maturity thing almost about this. That comes through lyrically more there, but I also just think that it's like matured vocals on things. Like there's, what was it? There's like a specific note in 15 that I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And like if you listen to it directly with the original version, I think it's very interesting to just see how things have changed in that regard too. Sort of rambled there. I apologize.
No, yeah.
No, you're good. I think it's...
Yeah, we know nothing.
I think especially with The Best Day...
Also
we really
true.
don't.
I think especially what you brought up with The Best Day of... I was really struck by how similar the orchestration on that one was, because a lot of it had been like I feel like more orchestrated, the tracks before that, and The Best Day felt very, very similar.
Yeah.
And a lot of the difference was in the way she was singing and the intonation in her voice.
Yeah.
That gave it a more pensive tone. I think not that it isn't a reflective, slow song to begin with, but that, yeah, I did feel the age a little bit there, and I really enjoyed that we had Forever and Always that was much more similar to the original version, but then we go back to the piano version, which is just...
Parentheses piano version, that is.
Of course.
Yeah, Forever and Always, parentheses piano version, parentheses Taylor's version. Which I think is so... It feels like an adult who understands heartbreak and understands the themes that she was singing about all those years ago, and singing about it with a reverence that the other one doesn't quite... I mean, I just think it's still a good song, but just absolutely soul-crushingly sad now. Yeah. I think it's really good.
Yeah, I definitely like the piano version better than the regular version, at least. I don't know a ton
100%
about like the differences in general from the actual originals, but I think you guys are both touching on like a very important thing, and that is like the time and the history that goes between her and this music now that you can kind of hear in those more emotionally charged and slower songs like that one. I guess they're all emotionally charged. They're all so sad. There's like 3 songs on this album that isn't like really about some sad stuff.
Yeah, they're like all about breakups in some way.
Well, I wouldn't say all about breakups, but they're all about heartbreak in different ways for the most part.
It's all very much like about love, whether you want it or you don't have it or you lost it. But it's very much centered on like what stage of that you are in.
I really like the first 5 tracks because it ends with White Horse, and that kind of gives, at least for those 5 tracks, a bit of an arc, and I really like that.
I was gonna ask if that was like a sequel to Love Story, or something. But then I realized that she also just sings about being a princess a lot, and that might be a bigger thing than just those two songs.
Just a bit of a note on track 5. Track 5s on all of Taylor Swift's albums are sort of infamously the saddest ones, like All Too Well on Red is track 5. What is it on Folklore? Oh, I know what it is. It's My Tears Ricochet on Evermore, I believe. Or maybe that's on Folklore. Maybe I'm getting my mores confused there. But it's...
Folklore is My Tears Ricochet.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. And so that's sort of like a infamous thing that is always anticipated in Taylor Swift's
that's
albums.
fun.
That's all. Yeah.
Is there a reason for that, or is that just like how it's worked out every time?
I mean, I think nothing that she does isn't plotted at this point in my mind. So I would have to think about what it is on debut. I think it's Cold as You. And so I would assume that it just sort of, happened once and then she stuck with it. But they're all very, yeah. But I'm trying to think, I don't know. I almost want to say that it's not track 5. Maybe it's not track 5 on the platinum version. Maybe that's what it is. I think Forever and Always piano version is put forth it sort of throws off the track list on the platinum version of Fearless. Anyway, I digress. But it's like Dear John and All Too Well, and all of just her saddest ones are always track 5, is really all I'm saying there. Yeah. So with the arc of an album, I think that that's very intentional and very much a thing throughout. Just sort of with like the narrative of the first 5 that Ricardo was talking about. Yeah. I also think that definitely here the fairy tale sort of imagery is very much there. I also think that that's interesting if we look at the album. Can I switch to the album cover for a second? Is that okay?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
So the album cover here, if we look at the album cover of the Taylor's version of Fearless, it's her and she's wearing like a Romeo-ish, it's like a peasant shirt, but it's like a Romeo-ish shirt is sort of what the like Swiftie community, if you will, was talking about, and I think that that's a really interesting like flip, because in the original Fearless album cover, like it's very much reminiscent of it, but she's angled the opposite way, and in the original one she's wearing a dress, and here she's wearing that shirt, and I think that there's some sort of like maturity and something like rewriting a narrative that she's getting at there, because as I've said before, and as a lot of people will tell you, that just nothing is, left to chance, right, when it comes to good old Taylor Swift. So I think that that's interesting, and I don't really know what to make of it, but I think it's worth noting. And then going back to the fairy tale imagery just a little bit, I think that it's something that you can kind of see in the later albums as well, but it's as, like, the most straightforward it is throughout Fearless. It's sort of a track in that album. But I also think that there's a lot of, like, allusions to there's allusions to previous songs and a lot of Taylor songs, and I think that that's interesting. So some of these themes come back in less explicit ways, I suppose, as you go on in her discography. Yeah. Also in that note, I'm really switching gears again here. I'm sorry. I'm just sort of stream of consciousness going here. Okay. So Mr. Perfectly Fine, which was the third single, the second parentheses from the vault song that was that was released prior to the album drop day. That one, there's a line in that, it's like Mr. Casually Cruel, and casually cruel in the name of being honest is a line in All Too Well. And so I think that sort of some of those lyrical parallels are very interesting to see, both just listening to the first however many 20 tracks on the album that we've heard before, but then in the last 6 that are those new songs, I think it's interesting to see like these things that she sat on for years almost, where it's like that casually cruel, like that lyric is one that was there in 2008 but didn't get released until Red in I should know my years, 2013, 2012, seems like that's right. 2012 was Red. Yeah, and it's just all how it all builds on one another is fascinating, and I think going back and listening to an album that I haven't listened to in full, even though this is the new version of it, listening to an album that I hadn't listened to in full in a few years, I just think it's fascinating to see how much there are through lines in her work.
I remember being, 10, 11, and going through, Claire, your CD of going through the liner notes, and you were even then you would be like, oh, people think that this in this liner note means this because she did this with it, like, you know.
Well, a fun thing is that if you do go through the liner notes, like which is, I think, also fun, is this is how she, like, announced the release date as well, is there's letters capitalized and all the lyrics, right? And that's, like, it's just it's fun. Yeah, I don't know. I also, like, Fearless, Fearless is one of my favorite albums. I mean, they're all one of my favorite albums, obviously, but I think it's funny to use that phrasing when there's not that many things to pick from. Anyway, I digress. Fearless is the first Taylor Swift album that I remember listening to. I think I owned Debut, her self-titled album, Taylor Swift, but I have vivid memories of listening to Fearless on, like, this big white boombox CD player that I had in my room, and, like, I listened to it on repeat getting ready for school, like, elementary school. And so I think it's also, that's another thing about these that's so cool, is it's, like, the people who were listening to it and were, like, thinking about, like, their middle school crushes the first time they were listening to it have now also matured. And sort of, like, getting to revisit music that was important to you at, like, that point in your life, and having grown up, like, alongside an artist, and then, like, seeing their more mature take on it as you're also more mature is something that I think is, like, really kind of unheard of. And I think what makes this re-recording for me, I think that this is going to be the most special one in that way, but, like, all of them are very, like, I think that that's just a really cool thing that is, you know, a very nice side effect of something that is, you know, perhaps not the best, like, situation in so many ways for, that's just not the best situation in so many ways, like, why we're getting them, but I think it's a really special thing and a really cool thing. Yeah.
I agree. I don't think there's ever been anything like it in the history of music that I can think of, and obviously you can go see artists like Paul Simon and Bob Dylan come to mind, where when you go see them in concert, they're playing a completely different version of the song than the one that you hear on the album. But I cannot think of an artist who's ever, with even to this degree, I mean, obviously she's doing all of the albums, but even re-recording one entire album worth of songs from a different style, in a more mature take on it, but is just insane.
I think what's also so cool is I don't know that it is a different style, right? It's doing, I think it's weirdly very authentic and very true to the original ones. Just, I don't know how to articulate what I'm trying to say, but I don't know that it is a different style. Like, I think it's very faithful while just being a little bit more polished or pensive or whatever word you want to use there.
That it maintains the spirit of the original album while also benefiting from the decade plus of songwriting, orchestration, and performing experience that she's had as the most successful music artist on the planet.
Yeah.
And, you know, all the stuff you're saying about how kind of growing with the music and getting to reflect back on it as it was then and as it is now with the artist who's also, like, gone on whatever similar kind of journey, would you, like, are you a Taylor's version for life now? Or would you go back and listen to the original version of this? Is this one superior in general?
I mean, I think they're different, right? But I think that sort of, you know, on a moral level, the reason in so many ways that they were recorded, right, is so you can listen to the music and give and, like, she gets the royalties, right? And, like, her sort of ownership there. And I think that this did a very cool thing where it's like, if they differed incredibly from the original versions, I think I would be, like, hard pressed to not, like, listen to the original Hey Steven if Hey Steven stuck in my head, right? But I think that these did a cool thing, which is that they stayed authentic enough to the original versions where I feel like I don't need to listen to the original versions to sort of, like, get my fix, if that makes sense.
I really like that concept for this as a whole, where it's essentially this whole album's a big old middle finger to her old record label.
Oh yeah.
Well-deserved middle finger to that record label.
Oh yeah.
Which we'll get into in just a second for our pop culture reference, but I wanna ask Claire, what song do you like? Well, it's two parts. One, what is your favorite from the Vault song? But two, what song do you think is the most improved in Taylor's version?
That is a good question.
It's a big question.
My favorite from the vault is it has been fewer than 24 hours. It's been 16 hours since it came out, so I have not had time to listen to them all as much as I would like to give it a informed answer to this question. But I really like Mr. Perfectly Fine. I think it is wonderful. I think that it is the right amount of like that one just feels very 2008, but in a really cool way. I really like Mr. Perfectly Fine from the vault. That's also the one that I've listened to the most. So that could be something to do with that. When I listen to Don't You more, perhaps I will, have stronger feelings about that. But, I really, and this sort of gets out something that you were saying earlier, Garrett, I like the Forever and Always piano version on the original, version of Fearless, but it was always I would say Fearless is a no-skip album, and I will stand by that. However, if I were to skip one, it would have been that. But I think that sort of the maturity and the gut-wrenching heartache that comes with the Forever and Always piano version, or Forever and Always piano version, Taylor version, I think is really, really great. I also, listening to 15, just something about 15 specifically being re-recorded is really, really cool for me. And I don't know why I don't know if it's just the nature of the song, lyrically it's about being 15, and so whenever I was first listening to this, I was thinking about, I will be in high school one day, but I was in 5th grade, right? And now as a junior in college, I think listening to that song for the first time again, being able to look back on my time in high school opposed to looking forward to it, I think that that's really cool. And I think that that's sort of a narrative that could be applied to all of them, but the most straightforward way of looking at that is 15, where it's explicitly telling this narrative. I also want to mention the laugh in Hey Steven. I would be remiss to not mention. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I really liked Hey Steven. I thought that it felt.
Hey Steven is, and this is a flaming
happier.
hot take. This is a flaming hot take, but it is one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs of all time. I don't know why. Lyrically, it's nothing that special. It just, it's just such an earworm for me that I love that song. I love that song.
I mean, I'm also curious, because Ricardo and I, we have very little past with Taylor Swift. Ricardo, what were you drawn to in this album? What was your song that started to make you tear up?
Oh, I don't think I ever teared up, but...
Oh, I'm mostly joking, but what song did you really like?
Then you didn't listen to You're Not Sorry. That's all I'm gonna say.
Get called out live.
I don't know. You Belong With Me has been an earworm for me for the past 10 years, so that one. Mr. Perfectly Fine's the one I've come back to for whatever reason. That's another earworm for me. I really like just the production on that one. I like the beat.
What about you, Seamus?
I've never heard of the song Jump Then Fall before, but she had this Peter Frampton guitar effect going on the whole time that it just made me love that one to death. Plus that one, if I'm remembering, isn't one of the more sad ones, so I like the upbeat ones.
It is not.
Okay, final thoughts on Fearless, Taylor's version, featuring Aaron Moore's, from the vault?
I thought it was good. I think that, we're going to get into it in just a minute here. I think that it's an important album for more than just the listenability, which is, I think, pretty high. And, there were a couple more on this track list that I put a little star next to that I liked than I thought I would. So I approve.
Yeah, go check this one out. Get Taylor her money.
Yeah.
We'll make Swifties.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask. That's what you people are called, Swifties. Okay.
Oh yes.
I was...
Did you not know that one?
No, I was racking my head trying to think of how that would go, but
it's with an IE in case you were curious.
Of course.
No.
Now it's time for our pop culture reference of the episode, and Claire is going to be breaking down for us kind of the background. We've touched on the show before, but in more depth about why exactly Taylor Swift is working on re-recording all of her older albums and how that process is going, basically.
Yeah, so I guess starting off with just what, there's a lot that could be said here. I could probably do a whole episode just about this. So I'm gonna just bring in a few of the key players here, but starting off just with what a master recording is, I think is like really important to know just to sort of understand the whole controversy. And so a master recording is just the initial recording of any piece of music, and so it's what everything that is distributed digitally or physically from then off has to like be copied from the master. And so sort of who owns the master owns every recording then after of a given song. And so it's different than copyright, where it's not the intellectual property, it's not like the lyrics or the orchestration of a song, but it's rather that one recording. And so Taylor Swift's masters are what we're dealing with here, right? And so back in 2005, Taylor Swift signed a 13-year contract. 13 is a big number for Taylor Swift, so kind of sweet, with Big Machine Records. And so she was with them for her first 6 studio albums. So that's Taylor Swift, her debut album, Fearless, Speak Now, Red, 1989, all the way up through Reputation in 2017. And so Big Machine Records owned the masters to every single one of those albums, right? And so any subsequent copies of any one of those songs that was distributed, bought, sold, all of the royalties went back to Big Machine Records, which comprised like 80% of their revenue. They're not that big of a label beyond Taylor Swift's, so that's really like, you know, sort of a big thing for them. And so Taylor Swift, after she left, her contract ended with Big Machine in 2019, she went and signed with Republic Records, who she's currently with. It's a Universal branch, anyway. But she tried to buy back her masters from Big Machine Records, and she was like in negotiations with them for a while, and basically she just like could not get the deal she wanted, right? And so she was talking to them, and she could not get the deal she wanted. And then sort of out of the blue, without Taylor's knowledge, her masters were sold to Scooter Braun, who's a pretty big player in the music industry. He Ariana Grande and Justin Bieber are 2 big names that are signed with him. So and he's sort of the bad guy in this story, right? Where he bought her masters and just she wasn't gonna budge on it. And so sort of there was a Taylor Swift posted a long like social media post about it and explaining what had happened from her point of view. And so as basically what we were saying before, just a big middle finger about the fact that she did not and could not own the rights to her own masters. She just said, you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm just going to re-record all of them because I can do that. So this is our first out of 6 re-recordings that we're going to get from Taylor Swift, and I'm excited to see, you know, what she does with the other ones. So yeah, I'm excited to see what she does with the other ones. We got also, in addition to the 20 songs that we had heard before on Fearless in the re-recorded version, parentheses, Taylor's version, we got 6 new songs, parentheses, from the vault. So I'm curious to see if there's more of those coming, which is, you know, not something that she has to do to gain the masters to those, as the masters to those were not bought by Scooter Braun, but it's sort of a fun thing that we're getting alongside. And so we're getting, you know, 2008 songs for the first time, which is really special. I also just think that it has this whole thing, right? It's very unheard of, and I think it has some very interesting implications for the future of digital music, because masters are in so many ways not as important as they once were, because artists rely on their labels a lot less than they once did, because what previously had to be distributed via labels and like whoever they're repped by sort of doesn't anymore in a digital world. And so they can direct people to Spotify on their own. Like, it doesn't have to be their agents and their labels, you know, promoting them to radio stations. And so I think that this sort of has fascinating implications for music, just the music industry larger, and sort of where things are going to go there, for all sorts of artists. And Taylor Swift has really been a sort of interesting pioneer in digital music all over. Like she pulled all of her music off of Spotify once upon a time because of how the royalties worked there and paying out artists for their work there, and sort of got some things changed before she went back. And so I think that there's a lot of implications all over the place with what Taylor Swift is doing with digital music and copyright and artist payouts in general. And I think that that's everything I have to say about that.
Very succinctly put, I'm impressed. I think that would have been really hard to compress
There's
down.
one player that I forgot to talk about, but he's not that important, so it's okay. Scott, I don't even know how to say his name. I always want to say it's Bruschetta. It's not. It's like Bruschetta or whatever. He's the big machine guy, but I don't think it really matters. I think it's okay.
Yeah, you really laid it down. Yeah, I know so much now. I should have probably known that listening to this album. This is very important. I mean, I knew the basics of it, but all of that is just like one tragic step after another into her being like kind of pigeonholed into re-recording these. But I mean, ultimately, it's a very good thing.
Yes. I think it's also important to note that, like, I mean, I think that we could have figured this out, but in her new deal with Republic Records, which is the Universal one that she's now signed with, like, the big contingency there in signing was that she owns her own masters, right? Which is, it's a little bit out of, like, it's a little bit uncommon in the music industry. I don't really know. I should know more. I literally run a campus radio station, but it's okay. Yeah, I don't know. I do think it's very fascinating.
Well, like you said, with the advent of digital music being the primary way most people listen to music, like you said, the idea of a master is changing a lot. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, you look at an artist like Billie Eilish, right, who has almost entirely come up through this digital sensation landscape, where I imagine most artists from now on, or at least a increasing percentage of popular artists, are going to own their own masters. Mm-hmm. So I think you're like, I was going to bring up like the Spotify letter and everything with Taylor Swift, and I think that's not something we can go into too in depth on this, but you're absolutely right in that I feel like every time there is a conversation about the relationship between digital music distribution and artist compensation, Taylor Swift is at the center of it.
Yeah, which I think are just, like, remarkably important conversations to be having right now, right? Like, I think that the landscape of music is so ever-changing that it's... Yeah, I think that it's a little surprising to me, almost, how there aren't more artists involved, because, like, people, like, sort of butt in on the, like, Taylor Swift controversies, where they're like, I don't love the word controversies there, but I said it, so there we are. Where it's like, Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande were like, hey, Scooter Braun's a good guy, and then Halsey, I think, is one that was like, no, go Taylor, heck yes, right? And so, I like, but I feel like there's not as much engagement, I guess, from other artists in these conversations as I would expect. But yeah, I think. Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I almost wonder if that's because Taylor Swift is kind of so big that she's untouchable and that she's the one that's allowed to be honest enough to have these conversations without like getting blacklisted. You know.
Yes and no. I don't know. I mean, I think like Justin Bieber could if he wanted to.
Well,
right?
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, but I'm not saying that I support them coming out in defense of Scooter Braun, but I'm saying that Taylor Swift is often the person with the means to stick up for that kind of artistic representation when other artists might not want to risk it. So I think that wraps us up for this pop culture reference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all learned a lot, except for maybe Claire, who taught us a lot.
Very educational.
This is our educational
yeah, exactly.
episode.
Moving on to
Pop quiz.
So, since we have a guest this week, we're going to be taking pop quiz a little bit differently. Those of you who listened when we had Diego on a little while ago might remember the stakes for a guest pop quiz, which, you know, Seamus, Ricardo, they're putting down their boxing gloves for now, so their scores are going to remain with Ricardo 2 ahead for at least another week. But here, we're going to have it so Claire, of course, as the guest, is going to pick the category, And if she wins the pop quiz, she is going to pick a topic that we have to mention on the show for the next 4 weeks. So, when Diego was on and he won, he picked 50 Shades of Grey, which Seamus dutifully carried for us that whole month. And if Seamus or Ricardo wins, Claire's going to have to record a little bumper for us advertising what a great podcast we are, because we're the best pop culture reference. Well, we're the only we're the best pop culture podcast around.
You are the best podcast called Pop Culture Reference. That is for sure. I'll say that one without even losing.
Boom.
What up? There it is. There's the truth.
Okay, so for those of you playing along at home, if you want to know how this game works, basically Claire's going to pick a category, and then I'm going to read a question, and the first person to answer the question correctly wins. If there is a tie or nobody knows the answer, then we're going to move on to our other category as a tiebreaker. So, Claire, here is your category choice. Either Loki or Taylor Swift.
Garrett, I'm going to go with
Who
Taylor
would've thought?
Swift.
Alright, Taylor Swift. What Swift song is the fastest selling digital single of all time?
Ooh, Lover? No, it's going to be... Is it We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together?
Oh,
It is
Yep.
2012's We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, which reached number 1 on iTunes within
I don't know
50
why
minutes of its
I was gonna
release.
It was gonna
say,
be
look
that
what
or
you
Shake It
made me
Off.
do.
I don't know why I groaned before, like I
It's
was
shit-
gonna be even close to getting that answer. Like, you got me, darn.
I almost said Shake It Off. I feel like Shake It Off also is some sort of record in that vein, but I don't know.
Well, damn, I know we weren't going for points today, but I'm still bummed I'm no closer to becoming Claire's brother-in-law. I'm really upset by that.
She probably doesn't know what that means.
No, I knew she wouldn't.
And we're
but-
not going to clarify.
No, we're not. We're absolutely not.
Are you battling for Garrett's hand in marriage? Is that
That's
the
exactly
plan?
right, actually.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
cool.
Good guess. Weird.
Yeah, fascinating.
Now it's time for Howling Commandos, where we break down the latest episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. As always, we're going to be talking spoilers right off the bat, so this is your official spoiler warning. If you've not caught up with episode 4 of Falcon and Winter Soldier, go do that, then come back here. Claire's not going to be joining us for this segment because she doesn't watch the show regularly, but she will be back for Save the Rec Center right after this, so stay tuned. But, what did you guys
I don't
think
feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah, you got thought. Let's just get into the meat of this. We got some hair on New Cap's face, and it is turning him evil, huh? My God.
Yeah, it's intense. Okay, let's talk about the fact that this is the first episode from any of these Marvel shows that has made me feel like this is a full episode of television where more than 2 things happen.
Yeah, there's like definitely a lot between the like meeting between Carly and the gang and all this crazy New Cap stuff. Yeah, it felt like a good hunk of story getting given to us, especially because they left it off on that lovely little cliffhanger last episode.
So that character's name is Ayo, which we did not know last week, and she is actually from like the other movies. She's in Civil War.
Yeah, she's from
and Black Panther. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, move or you will be moved.
That's right. Yes. Oh man,
So-
there's that. I shout out to that awesome move she did where she just like turns off Bucky's arm and just like flops over. Loved that.
Oh yeah, the Dora Milaje they're just incredible in this.
They
Badasses all over the world, man.
hell yeah, and they take all of the wind out of John Walker's sails. It is something to see.
Well, I was like high-key pretty disappointed when we left Wakanda. We were in Wakanda at the opening. I was like, yes, let's go. And then no mas.
That was good to see too, Bucky's whole recovery process, and the moment he finds out, it's like, oh, these code words no longer work on me. I can just be a dude now.
Mm-hmm. It was powerful. I thought
Yeah,
that
I
was
love that opening.
really well acted too. Again, there's so much quiet character work going on in this show that they do not have the time to put in these movies. And I think that's really exciting. Like I was kind of counting in my head as this episode was going of like, wow, this is just a quiet character scene. Wow, this is just a quiet character scene. And it's just really refreshing, because this is our first suit up super soldier / superhero stuff since episode 1, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean,
like Falcon in the suit and everything.
I was gonna say, it was almost weird seeing Sam get in the wings and like be all prepared to fight like that.
But we're here to talk about Wyatt Russell. Super soldier serum, Nazis, and Wyatt Russell. They all go together. It's a perfect storm.
They really do. We're gonna see some weird, like, bulging vein shots on, like, his head and neck in a couple episodes, and he's gonna be freaking out. They straight up killed Battlestar. I thought he was gonna be around for a while, but that is sent old John Walker into let's cut people in half with my shield mode. So,
well, they foreshadowed that pretty hard this episode, like early in the episode, about like how Battlestar is like, oh, if only we had that super soldier serum, think about lives we could save, and all the, like,
yeah.
R.I.P. Battlestar, we hardly knew ye.
Yeah, I thought he was... Lamar. I thought he was
Lamar.
really gonna be the thing that maybe brings John Walker back from the brink, but I guess it sends him over.
Yeah, he was Walker's one tether to sanity.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that not only is his death something that's the impetus for this violence because he's out for revenge, but because we've seen multiple times throughout the series that he really is Walker's voice of reason, and now that the super soldier serum has amplified Walker's pig-headedness, bull-headedness.
Yeah, sure.
Man gets his ass handed to him by a black woman one time.
Yeah,
he goes out.
That really takes him back. Ooh.
They weren't even super soldiers.
Yeah, that rocked him.
And then we haven't talked about Zemo, the very reason that he was able to get that super soldier serum.
Yeah, Zemo doesn't mess around with formulas, man. Smash town all the way.
Yeah, this is going to turn that big pressure up from the, we keep getting like, I'm going to totally come find you and kill you from the power broker. So that bubble's got to pop soon, because there's not that many episodes left. 2
more, yeah. So, and I mean, when Zemo was stomping those vials, I was like, good for him. That's good for him.
Yeah, kind of good for everybody.
Yeah,
he's got okay motivations.
Right. I agree.
Oh,
that's
man.
Something that I really like. And I mean, it is kind of following in the steps of Black Panther in that way. Of this show is very interested in being like, you know what? The villains are right, though. Like, they're just doing it the wrong way. Except
Zemo wasn't such a prick. Maybe we'd get somewhere.
I mean, obviously we've got Evil Cap now, so that's interesting. His heart's not in the right place, I would argue. But you've got Zemo and you've got the Flag Smashers, but...
Man, that Flag Smasher guy that got killed by New Cap he was the guy that was like, I used to love Captain America, you know? That was pretty hard to see just the...
Which in retrospect probably should have seen it coming.
Yeah, right. I totally let that fly over me of just like, oh, ironic, huh? And then you see that shot of John Walker standing all heroic with his bloody shield, and...
What an image.
Love that. Gave me chills.
Yeah, that whole sequence, man, I was just flipping my absolute mind.
Yeah, it's brutal. All the cameras flipping out, just him not caring that he totally just ruined his own personal... Like, you can't come back from that. You just totally killed that dude.
Also, this is something
in the middle of the city, broad daylight.
Surrounded by people.
Something I was thinking about this week is, why does it seem like the only thing that ever scratches the paint on Cap's shield is Black Panther's claws? Because, like, is it vibranium-infused paint? Like,
that's a good question. I don't even know. I would hope so. That sounds like the extra stuff that Stark.
There's vibranium in everything.
Hell yeah.
Every part of that shield, the strap is vibranium.
I really liked him getting pinned to the table, like, through his shield.
Yeah, that was awesome. This is a little bit of a digression to last week's episode, but how far into the Zemo cut did you guys get before you turned it off?
You tell me you didn't watch the whole thing?
No, I didn't watch the whole hour-long thing, but I think it's absolute gold that Marvel put an official video out.
The
dancing loop of him in the club.
Dancing. Yeah.
That just really tickled me that they would do just a big old meme like that.
Well, I mean, it's hilarious. He's dancing such a bad dance with so much confidence.
Completely alone, mind you, just in the middle of a floor of people dancing alone.
But yeah, I really liked that. That was funny.
Since we're on Zemo, you want to talk about him being super creepy to children, singing Baba Black Sheep?
Oh, that was incredibly giving them Turkish delight.
Which, I mean, you guys, I don't know if you guys are Narnia people, but that immediately made me think of in the first Narnia book or the fifth Narnia book or whatever, whichever Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah, whatever one that is, the one that people know. I totally know what you're talking about.
The White Witch gives Turkish delights to the children, as a way to entice them.
Yeah, very, very creepy. Like that was creepy in that book and movie. Zemo's doing it in modern day, still being real creepy about it. Though it looked delicious. I don't know what it is, but
it made me think about Sherlock Holmes's. You know about how Sherlock Holmes has a network of homeless children?
Oh yeah. Because there is a moment later where he's like, "If you'll excuse me, my associate is up ahead," and it's just a small child.
Yeah. Very Holmes.
We were getting some very good Zemo this episode in that both he was being super evil and creepy, but also I kind of love him.
Yeah.
When everybody's fighting and he's just standing there sipping his drink.
It's
yeah,
gold.
Zemo does what Zemo does best. He gets everyone else to fight each other, and then he leaves.
Yeah, he slips out of his handcuffs and bounces.
Good stuff. I'm really interested to see what the end get, because now it seems like we have a more straightforward clashing dynamic for the last two episodes set up. So I'm curious to see what happens with Zemo, because I don't want him to just disappear at the end,
Yeah, I would be I'd be happy if John Walker survives to be a villain again, and I'd be very happy if Zemo survived to be a weird, that Hannibal Lecter friend again, because they're both great.
I'm always down for that Thunderbolts theory, have him be on a Dark Avengers team.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I mean, he might wear the mask more often.
When's the last time we saw Thunderbolt Ross?
I don't even know what that is, man.
Civil War, probably.
Civil War. Is he not in one of the later Avengers movies for a scene?
Oh, isn't he? He's just in a hologram Zoom meeting with somebody.
He's talking to
Oh,
Rhodey.
that sounds like he would be.
Yeah,
he's
right?
talking to Rhodey. What is
Make him the Red Hulk already.
Which one is he though? Which one's he? That seems like it must be Infinity War.
Yeah, maybe.
Probably.
I do want the Red Hulk though. Just bring in Ed Norton for Multiverse of Madness and throw in the Red Hulk, and we're good.
Well, Tim Roth is coming back for something, right? They said
what?
that.
Is he? I thought
Abomination.
Oh yeah, he's a She-Hulk. Abomination is back for
Yes,
She-Hulk.
Oh yeah. Oh, that we might have talked about that before. I watched and now care about the Hulk movie.
Right, because Seamus, in 2 months you'll definitely remember anything about that movie. So,
dude, I thought that movie was awesome. That movie was top quality Phase 1, man. Better than Thor.
Did you like it when it had the first climax, or the second climax, or the third climax?
I liked it all. I love that sweaty, panting, just action all the time. They don't show the Hulk for an hour in that movie. It's great.
I like when he says smash.
They have so many setups. I just want them paid off already. The ultimate long game.
Do you like it when Martin Starr is there with his pizza, and then Disney years later was like, "Oh, we put Martin Starr in a Marvel already. They're the same guy. It's fine."
Yeah, they can be the same guy.
Yeah, why not? I almost let that slide until I was like, "Oh yeah, he's the weird teacher in Spider-Man."
It lines up.
Yeah, why not?
Sure. Yeah, of course I was always Peter Parker in Iron Man 2.
Hey, that's Iron Man 3 to you.
Is it? I think it is Iron Man 2. I think it's at the Stark Expo.
What? No, it's not. I just watched that movie.
You're thinking of the kid he meets in
that small
Colorado
town?
Or wherever.
Is that what I'm
he
thinking
ends
of?
up.
Yeah, you're thinking of the wrong thing, Seamus, you moron.
I just watched Avengers again. That's Iron Man 3 is next on my list, and I'm like, okay.
Iron Man 2, the kid that he saves in the Iron Man mask and the fake arc reactor.
Oh yeah, right. From the army robots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hot take. I think Iron Man 3 is fine.
Hot take. This is mostly probably all getting cut, but yeah, I kind of agree.
100%. It's gone. But yeah, like, yeah. Iron Man 3 is a fine movie. It's a much better Tony Stark movie than it is an Iron Man movie.
Yeah, maybe.
That's probably why I like it. I like the whole down to basics has to build his tech out of Home Depot stuff. I thought that was fun.
I like it too, and I wish that the action in that movie were better. Like,
yeah, and Ben
whole
Kingsley's
ending where the Reaper is in his Iron Patriot outfit on a loading dock. I don't care. Oh, they're glowing red now. Oh, Pepper Potts is dying. Oh.
Fuck. I saw a copy of
but
that.
But we're not here to talk about Iron Man 3.
We are,
we're here to live in fear of John Walker.
Oh, God. What is there left to say?
I mean, honestly, I felt like we were going to have a lot to talk about this episode, but I feel like we just kind of hit, like, it was a really good episode, and there was a lot that happened.
We should talk. You want to talk about Sam and the conversation? You want to go in depth with that? With Chloe?
Yeah, let's talk about that. The lighter humanitarian side of avenging.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that, it's always in my mind when I think about Sam as a character that he did really start off in that counseling environment, and that's like how he met with Captain America and how he kind of was able to sympathize so much with Cap and the others. And I don't know, it felt so heartbreaking when John Walker burst in through that after they seemed to be making all this interesting progress with each other. I don't know, it felt very allegorical to like, let's try the peaceful option for 30 seconds before America gets, impatient and kicks the door in, but...
Mm-hmm. No, I love
the
idea...
Come on, man, you couldn't wait 10 minutes?
Yeah, the worst.
I also love the idea that he's complaining about how Wakanda doesn't have jurisdiction somewhere where he literally does not have... Wait, does
that
the GRC...
was an incredible line from the Dora Milaje. The Dora Milaje have jurisdiction wherever the Dora Milaje find themselves to be.
Yeah, I love that too. Ooh, yeah.
I guess he's backed by the GRC, I guess, so technically, legally, he does have jurisdiction, I guess, doesn't he?
But, like, nobody likes him anyway. Either way, everybody's like, oh, this guy's just walking around the streets, busting people in half with a sword. Or shield, excuse me.
They don't have much attention for jurisdiction in these movies. Like Bucky and Sam should be in jail. Like they
very true. They like tried to touch on that during that first wingsuit chase at the helicopter in the first episode, where they're like, you only have like 20 more miles before you're in blah 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 airspace, and that was like the last we heard about it until now.
It makes me wonder, maybe there will be something more important that comes up. I mean, also the theme of borders, as we get into in that conversation with Carly at the funeral, is really important. The idea that with so many fewer people in the world, that borders kind of came down, and a lot of the biases and prejudices that divided the world before the snap were kind of gone. And I think it does go to show, like, how much... I'm trying to think of, like, the right term. Like, obviously the Avengers in these movies are supposed to be, like, the good guys. And then theoretically should be welcome wherever they're trying to go. But I think the idea of, like, the borders kind of keeping justice from being served is... Like, because the borders keep becoming a barrier for, like, the Dora Milaje don't have jurisdiction, quote unquote. Sam can't catch the bad guy because he's going to get into Libyan airspace, right?
Mm.
So I think that's kind of an interesting thing to be building off of, and it made me think a lot about what happened to Wakanda during the snap, during those 5 years.
That's true.
Like, did they self-isolate even more, or did they actually open back up to the world?
I wonder if that's what Black Panther 2 is going to be about, since they said they're not recasting Chadwick Boseman, and that'd be a way to still do a Black Panther movie in Wakanda without him.
That's true.
Or maybe that Wakanda show as well. They might have a good flashback element to it to show, like, if they were humanitarian or if they kind of locked it down again.
I don't want to stray too off the path, but there has been a growing online movement to actually recast Chadwick Boseman. Have you guys seen this?
What?
I haven't. No.
Really?
That a lot of people are saying that that while Chadwick Boseman did a really good job and is iconic and stuff, that character is a symbol to so many people around the world that they shouldn't just let him disappear. That that T'Challa is like this huge character. To which I say, like, it's going to be a very. I would imagine a lot of Black Panther 2 is going to be a Spider-Verse-y, like anyone can wear the mantle sort of thing.
Yeah, that
makes sense.
That's what I was thinking too. I don't know. I feel like that is very strange to me. I feel like that is the bigger point of like the Black Panther as the character maybe is the symbol that is needed and not maybe the specific version of Black Panther.
Well, while we're talking about symbols, one of the things I really like what they're doing with Falcon and the Winter Soldier is what they're doing with the shield and all the talk of symbols. Like anyone that talks about it is like, that shield means something to me or it represents something. They never get into specifics, but it means something to so many people. You can easily replace the word shield with flag.
Oh, well, yeah, sure.
Like, I love how it's just a representation of America.
Yeah, damn. Way to steer us back onto anywhere that we need to be in this segment, Ricardo, because that is actually a very great point. I think they're definitely trying to do that with all, like, the Black Captain America angle and the... who was it? Yeah, it was one of the other guys that John Walker was rated of just like, yeah, I don't care who you are, what that means to you, because to me that's worse than nothing. It's interesting. I hope they kind of they almost talked about it in this episode. I think of like destroying the shield, just like getting rid of it altogether, moving on to something new.
I think that's the third time in 4 episodes that they've mentioned destroying the shield. So I think that either they're trying to make us think that's going to happen, or they're actually foreshadowing that maybe that is coming up.
We'll see. I think maybe it needs to be destroyed.
Well, I think probably.
I know, that's the whole thing. Like they said, I think even in this episode, that shield's got a complicated history, just like America itself has a complicated history. Just the symbols, again, I just really like Steve Rogers is America's ideals and what we could have been. John Walker is what America actually is.
And we've got 2 episodes to go to see how farther he sinks before he either like just gets removed from the Captain America position or he gets maybe killed. But yeah, I don't know.
A lot of talk about supremacy this episode.
Yeah, that was that heavy stuff.
What I mean, like that the idea that Steve Rogers never thought he was better than anybody because he had the super soldier serum, and looking at Walker and thinking it's that he thinks because he's better than everybody that he deserves the super soldier serum.
And then matching that with, there's that conversation with Carly and the other gentleman who gets killed later, where he's like, I never thought there could be another Captain America until I met you. And that was pretty interesting that they're more people considering Carly to be the next Captain America figure than how people are treating John Walker.
I love that people like randomly recognize it. Like, sure, he's the face of a national or an international campaign or whatever, but just the idea that people are coming up and asking him for his autograph when he's just like a guy in a cafe.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. That's part of it, man. It's all that fame is going to his head. Can't live with it.
And then real quick, I think we're ready to wrap up. But lastly, are they trying to make the new Captain America an Avenger? Because there's been no talk of the Avengers, really. True. So is he just his own thing?
I actually don't remember where they fell. Like, after Endgame, a lot of them went off and did their own thing. Are the Avengers even still around, really?
I guess technically after Civil War they don't exist. And so they only, like, unofficially reteamed to fight Thanos.
True.
So yeah, I think that's a question that's going to have to get... Okay, what's going on... Let's think. Okay, what's going on in Far From Home?
Because that's what I was trying to think about. And all we really get is that all the heroes are unavailable except for Spider-Man to deal with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Spider-Man is the only Avenger left, is what I'm hearing.
Spider-Man, yeah, why not?
Yeah, everyone else is either busy or dead.
God, yeah, weird. We gotta see maybe Doctor Strange will pull everybody's heads out of their wherevers and get them to team up to save some worlds or whatever. We need more team up
action. Is Doctor Strange an Avenger? Does he count?
Yeah, I guess he's more of a collaborator.
Like, Avengers it's such a nebulous term. Like, because I think in this episode, when Zemo name drops the Avengers, Sam's like, those are our friends you're talking about. Like, he's not an Avenger? And it's like, Sam is definitely an Avenger, right?
I feel like Bucky is too. He gets the honorary Avengers for No, maybe not. He had some
Bucky,
beef.
I don't know. Bucky, I would say, is more of a collaborator than... He's more like a Black Panther than anything, you know.
God, I guess I considered Black Panther an Avenger too, but I guess he's just like a king dealing with his own stuff. Happens to coincide with some Avenger stuff.
But, like, Falcon is nothing if not a... Like, he's literally the Avenger in Ant-Man at the Avengers facility.
Yeah.
He's the government-sponsored Avenger.
But then doesn't he...
Is Ant-Man an Avenger? This is too much of a rabbit hole.
I will
to go
stand
down
by
right
that
now.
Ant-Man is Avenger, and anybody can fight me on that.
Well, because... I love
They
that.
gotta make cards, man, like IDs.
Everybody was wearing an ID badge. Junior Avenger intern.
Maybe that's what the young Avengers will be. I don't know.
Yeah, Avenger interns. There you go.
They've set up Patriot.
That's true. They set up...
That's true. Actually, really, that's what the John Walker stuff really is a better executed version of the Iron Patriot stuff from Iron Man 3.
Yeah, I guess it kind of is, isn't it?
Okay,
Alright.
let's move on to Save the Rec Center. Now it's time to Save the Rec Center, where we give you our weekly recommendations. So Claire's actually going to be going last this week as our guest. She's closing out the show. So what do you guys got?
I'll hit it first. Claire, I don't know how much of a video game person you are, or if you ever, go back and play on Garrett's PlayStation or whatever, but one of the free games this month for PlayStation Plus was Days Gone. That was also, I believe, a part of the PlayStation Plus collection, Garrett, that you got for
Correct.
PS5, but
Yep.
I just got it for the first time to play around with, and it is a lot of fun. It's like less serious than The Last of Us, and it's got like the badass biker hick angle like The Walking Dead, but better than that because it's not The Walking Dead. It's real interesting. If you're looking to kill some time and just like fight creepy monsters, it's definitely worth a shot.
Seamus, I'm going to need you to apologize to the Telltale Walking Dead series right now.
Oh, okay. Hey, hold the phone. I would never talk ish about that.
Mhm.
I'm talking about the show and that terrible Daryl Dixon video game they tried to make like 10 years ago. Other than that,
Yeah, I've not played this one, Seamus, but something I admire about you is you are always on the PlayStation Plus Game of the Month. You are like the second I turn on my PlayStation.
Dude, I burn through them in the month between their releases, and I try to get that platinum, and I'm often scrambling for a new one as soon as it's out, so...
Wow, you're an elite alpha gamer.
Yeah, MLG, Mountain Dew, and Doritos for breakfast, you get it. What year am I thinking about a video game player right now? Just, like, makes no sense.
We're throwing
it's
it back to 2008.
Yeah, oh yeah, there you go.
No.
If it's for breakfast...
You gotta talk about G Fuel and Twitch.
If it's for breakfast, Seamus, do you, like, pour the Mountain Dew into a bowl full of Doritos and eat it with a spoon?
Have you ever seen that real-life video of that one guy making, like, a blender smoothie with green Mountain Dew and Doritos? It's that, and it's disgusting.
Ricardo, what do you got?
I'm on brand today. I'm doing music. One of my personal favorite artists, Aurelio Voltaire. Seamus, you can speak to
Hell
this.
yeah.
He's the exact genre that he works in is kind of hard to pin down. I'll just say like gothic cabaret
Yeah, spooky core music.
singer. Yeah, a lot of his work is steeped in like the goth scene and the creepy stuff and horror. Anyone listening, you might know him if you watched The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy back in the day, which is how I was introduced to him. There's a whole episode where it's just a music video for his song Brains. And it's, again, like I said, that's where I got introduced to him. There's a fun story behind that where the creator of that show and him just kind of met in a bar, a goth bar one time. And he's like, hey, I've got a cartoon. You want to be on it? He's like, yeah, sure. Prove it. And he did. And then they collaborated, and he's been one of my go-to artists ever since. I've seen him in concert twice. Personal hero of mine, multi-talented. He's also a stop-motion animator, wrote a novel, has done some kids' picture books, comic artist. So yeah, he's on Spotify if you want to check him out.
What I'm hearing is he's a real Renaissance goth.
Yeah. You could probably tell that from his outfits, too. They've all got that kind of style.
Very cool. A cultural icon I knew nothing about.
Yeah, he's great. I second this as well as I usually do with Ricardo's weird and obscure rec centers. Garrett, what do you got this week, buddy?
You know, I was having a hard time, but I'm thinking I'm just gonna rec center the album Lover because it's really good.
Oh, okay.
And I'm keeping it
also on brand.
I'm keeping it on brand, yeah. Kind of like Ricardo was saying with On Music and specifically on Taylor Swift. That is an album that I absolutely adore and I listen to it all the time. And I was listening to it earlier this week because I was so hyped for this album coming out. And I think it's just good. It's got a really nice mix of like poppy songs and more ballady stuff, and I think it's just a good listen. It's a no-skip album, like Claire was saying earlier.
And I can only assume it's somewhere down the line of being re-recorded in a couple years. I mean, I don't know.
It is actually. It's not.
Oh.
It's album number 7, and so it's the first one where she owned her own masters. It's the first one with Republic Records.
All right. Well, there you go. That's even better.
Yes. So that is, as far as I'm aware, that's the only that's the only version of Lover we're gonna get. But who knows?
I can't wait for Shake It Off, Taylor's version.
It's gonna be big.
All right, Claire, finish us out.
I'm also gonna give us some music today. My number 2 most listened to artist on Spotify, behind Taylor Swift for the last, Taylor Swift has been for the last every year that I've ever gotten one. But my number 2 artist last year was Lake Street Dive, and they're I don't really know what genre to call them. They're sort of like rocky, poppy, R&B-y. They put out an album, I want to say it was early March, called Obviously, and it's a good listen. It's just like happy songs. They're like, I don't know, I like them. So that would be my pop culture recommendation. I put the emphasis on rec there, right? For today. Yeah.
Very, very nice. Well, thank you so much for being on the show this week, Claire. It really helped us out. You kind of schooled us on a Taylor Swift crash course. And do you want to plug yourself on socials, anything like that?
All my socials are at Claire Strother. You can also follow at the Olaf Messenger or at Ksto Radio. Those are 2. I don't know. You can find more of me there, really. You can also hear me live and on air, and not a podcast form, but rather a radio form, although it is still digital streaming, so who really cares? Thursdays 8 to 9 on kstoradio.org/listen, or actually it's a / I lied, /listen. That's my campus radio station, and I have a radio show on there called Is Your Refrigerator Running? And so I talk about music and play lots of the music that I like on there.
You were literally playing a song from this album on there last night. I can't.
It's true.
That.
I was.
Hell yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much. Next week, we're going to be talking Firefly on the show in commemoration of the new Firefly comic series that's coming out. So.
Oh, I didn't even realize it was so soon.
Yeah, I know. It's
awesome.
Time's flying, guys.
Here we
and then
are.
The week after that, Mortal Kombat. And...
It's amazing how that show just sprang out of nowhere with no creative person behind it.
Yeah, we're gonna be exciting to talk about that one, boys, because that's gonna be a tricky one to navigate. But we'll dive a little bit deeper on that next week. But Claire, once again, thank you so much for coming on the show. Guys,
yeah, thanks for having me.
Go stream Fearless.
Parentheses Taylor's version.
Of course.
Don't stream Fearless, not parentheses Taylor version. That would be bad. That's the opposite of what you want to do.
Damn you, Scooter Braun.